for our first concert in person in over 2 years. Oh, yeah. Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. And we do have some folks who are watching virtually from home, so we welcome them too. Maybe next month you can come in and join us. There's nothing like live music. I mean, this is just the way it's meant to be heard. So wherever you're listening, welcome. But try to be here next month. Let me put my glasses in. I do have, as usual, a few announcements to make. And first of all, I need to thank the Friends of the Library for sponsoring this concert, all the virtual concerts we had during the pandemic, and all the ones coming up. They do a great job. They raise money, and they bring us all this wonderful music every month, as well as the refreshments afterwards. And yes, we do have refreshments today. While you're having refreshments and admiring the artwork out in the gallery, you might want to stop and chat with Linnea Semesco. There she is right there, so you know what she looks like. She is our artist, and she has painted all of the beautiful artwork out there. It's very enjoyable. It's great. And she has some other smaller things for sale on a table out there. And if you just want to talk about her art with her, please do so. I asked her to share something about her art with me, and she told me that she's been a member of the Northwest Cultural Council since she retired from teaching gifted first graders in Chicago. That sounds very rewarding. She finally had time to explore the world when she retired, and during her travels, she was inspired for her paintings. But now she says anything will inspire her. She loves to watercolor and oil paint, and now that she's got the bug, I guess, and she said anything will inspire her. She likes to capture the moment in time. You might notice she's not afraid of color. They're beautiful. Her work has so much color, and she enjoys the freedom that gives her. She exhibits in multiple galleries since she paints with numerous groups. She invites you to come travel with her through her art. So please speak with her afterwards and enjoy her artwork. Okay, so I need to let you know next month's concert is on July 17th, a Sunday, of course, at 2:00. We have Kayleen Dolan, and she's going to be doing an all request concert. So when you sign up, you can submit some requests or just bring them when you come. She's great. She has a vast repertoire because she is a pianist and vocalist. She's the music director at the Redhead Piano Bar in Chicago. And she, like I said, she has a huge repertoire of tunes. So maybe we'll stump her. Maybe we'll give her things she doesn't know, but she's got a lot of knowledge and that will be a fun concert. Again, here. And then one more note for this month. On June 23rd, we're having TV in the 1960s. Barry Bradford is going to show us how the tumultuous 1960s were reflected in the changing television in that era. I mean, started with Andy Griffith and ended with Laugh-In and everything in between. So that could be pretty interesting, especially for somebody my age that was watching TV back in the 60s. June 23rd at 6:30 p.m. Okay, so now what we're all here for is some great music today. Our performer is Fruteland Jackson, and he is going to be doing the history of the blues through song. During June, we commemorate Juneteenth, which is the celebration of the emancipation of slaves in the United States. And it's also African American Music Month. And in fact, Fruteland just came from performing at the Blues Fest. So you didn't have to go all the way downtown. Just enjoy him right here. He is going to entertain and teach us through song and story. He's a recording artist, author, storyteller, and oral historian. So please welcome Fruteland Jackson.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Again, that's Fruteland, Fruteland, and not those apples and oranges you was thinking about. And I come here to sing and play and talk about blues music. This is a library, so there will be an educational component built in. I'm gonna spend the first maybe half hour talking a bit, and then the rest of the time, I'm just gonna play and perform. But I wanna give you some of the backstory on the blues. Let's see. I have programs called Blues in the Schools that I've been doing for over 30 years. I've seen over a million. In 2010, I had seen over 1 million students, and I tried to make sure that young people knew something about blues music just before they start making their musical choices, and maybe they would include the blues. And I love the blues. It is a part of American history. And let's see, I have this real heady lecture called The Emergence and Evolvement of Blues Music in American Culture, from cotton fields to skyscrapers. But I don't have time to do the big one, so I'm gonna just take some snippets and talk about this music. What is the blues? What is it? Is it a pair of jeans? Is it an old man sitting on a stump singing about his woman left him early in the morning? Is it a hockey team? What is the blues? The first recorded use of the English word blues was back in the 1500s. It was a word used to describe an anxious or a troubled state of mind. In the 1600s, blue devils was a common term referring to evil spirits that brought depression and despair. During the 1800s in the US, people would say, I have a case of the blue devils to describe a mood of low spirits or being under emotional stress. During the Reconstruction era, Blacks began to apply the term to a certain type of folk music that spoke to the social realities in their lives. The blues sprang from an environment of grueling hard work and poverty. The Cotton Belt, which was densely populated with Black Americans following the Emancipation Proclamation, is where the blues began to emerge as a popular form of folk singing. The blues sprang from an environment of grueling hard work and poverty. The Mississippi Delta, the East Texas region, and the Piedmont region are the key areas in the US where the blues was born. The blues was fashioned from field hollers, work songs, and religious music, each contributing to the makeup of the blues. The field song of the slave represented the sorrow in his life. He was not happy-go-lucky. Prison farm officials encouraged the singing of work songs because it kept the men and women focused on their work. And they also discovered that more work could be accomplished when setting to rhythmic timing. And the religious songs that include hymns, slave songs, church songs, and Negro spirituals, while serving the same purpose as they did during slavery, they give us a hope of a better tomorrow, a belief in a higher power. Now, I normally start talking about the West African roots of American blues music, but I'm going to cut that part out. And I'm going to go straight to the 3 types of music that make up the blues. Work songs. We've heard work songs before. I've been working on the railroad all the livelong day. Work songs had 3 functions, okay? They supplied a rhythm of work or a synchronized rhythm of movement, and they allowed you to perform tedious tasks. And they also, and work songs were also an outlet for frustration and anger. Work songs were heard all over the South, but there was a tradition in Texas. The state of Texas used convict labor on their public works projects and to farm its thousands of acres of farmland. Inmates were leased to private operators, and that was a practice that was seen in penal institutions all over the South, like Arkansas's Cummings Prison Farm, Missouri State Prison, one of the oldest prisons in the US, Louisiana State Penitentiary, and Mississippi State Penitentiary at Parchman. Mississippi State Penitentiary at Parchman. And Mr. Jim Oshinsky's book, Worse Than Slavery, Parchman Prison was described as the closest thing to slavery that survived the Civil War. You could be worked overworked and underfed. Now, here is a medley of some work songs. Let me do it this way. Here's a medley. I'm getting ready to pop it. It should be okay. 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 This is music that was created to the swing of sledgehammers, picks, and axes. Let me pick up the speed here. Sledgehammers, picks, and axes. I didn't bring my sledgehammer, my pick, or my axe, so I'm going to use my guitar to keep time. And here are some of the early blues songs before blues had come together. The blues is made up of field hollers, work songs, and religious music. Here's an example of a work song. It was the work song that put a beat into the music. Big leg Rosie, with your big leg draws. You got me wearing striped overalls. Cap in the bushes said, I'm gonna break your leg. If I catch you messing with my woman, I'm gonna kill you dead. Go ahead and marry. Don't you wait for me. I got a long holdover. I can't go free. Upon my watch and pistol, upon my watch and chain, I'd pawn my old lady, but she won't sign her name. And there were women in prison too, and they would work. There's an old field recording, and a field recording is a recording that's not owned by a record company. It's probably held by a museum or a library. And archives, and these women were working in the sewing room. And sometimes when they made the sheets, the pillow slips, and everything was made with striped material. And they sang work songs, and some of their work songs sounded like this. You keep on talking about those dangerous blues. If I had me a pistol, I'd be dangerous too. My knee bone hurt me and my ankle swell. They said I might get better, but I won't get well. Maddie had a baby and it's got blue eyes. They said it must have been the captain because he just keep on hanging around. And then they had the field holler. Now, field hollers were like newspapers. No one knows when field hollers began. There was no music. And here, field hollers helped to develop the throat. One of my favorite field hollers is a field holler called Old Hannah. And Old Hannah was a nickname for the sun. And if you were working out, even the slaves and even the former slaves, they would look up at the sun and just hope that Old Hannah would go down. And they would sing songs like this. And field hollers didn't have to rhyme, but people would sing about what was ever going on in their lives. And they would sing songs like this. Go down, oh Hannah, don't you rise no more. Well, if you rise in the morning, and bring judgment day. You ought to be on the brassy 18 and 10. Why they were working the women like they did the men. Three types of musical styles make up the blues. It was the field holler that developed the throat, and it was the work song that put beats in the music. The same beats that these young rappers, when they go into these studios and they create these electronic beats, that principle came from the work song with sledgehammers, picks, and axes. People would go south, and railroad workers, they used to refer to them as Gandhi dancers, and they would sing work songs, and people would travel down south just to hear them sing those songs. Around the turn of the century, the music started blending together. They might take something from a field holler and mix it with a work song, or take something from a work song and mix it with a religious song. And eventually the music fused together and someone started referring to it as the blues. Who it was, we don't know, but they start calling it blues music. It did not become legitimate until a man by the name of W.C. Handy was born. And W.C. Handy, excuse me, became the father of the blues because he was the first person to hear this music and put it into music notation and have it copyrighted. And he became the father of the blues. And he wrote one of the most recorded songs in the first half of the 20th century, a song called the St. Louis Blues. This song went around the world. And it made, you may not know, remember some of these names, but it made stars of people like Gilda Gray, Sophie Tucker, and Marion Harris. It made the bands of Rudy Valley, Paul Whiteman, and Earl Fuller. When the St. Louis became so popular, Queen Elizabeth, maybe 6 decades ago, called it her favorite dance music. King Edward VIII had the St. Louis Blues played at Balmoral Castle for him and Mrs. Simpson. The St. Louis Blues was played before the palace of Haile Selassie, and it became the Ethiopian war anthem during World War II when Italy invaded Ethiopia. What a song. It was published in 1914. W.C. Handy became very, very famous. I'm going to play just a little bit, a verse of this song, and then we're going to get on with the concert. Because he legitimized the blues and he gave it a category. He knew Eisenhower, he played at the White House. In 1946, they had a life-size float of him playing his cornet in New York City at a parade. William Christopher Handy. Okay, there's so many stories about him and how he even got the blues, but can I get a little, oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Now, I'm an acoustic player, and so I'm going to need your imagination. I like to start off with a beat. There's my heartbeat. Now, this song was written for a 65-piece band, and I'm by myself. So now I need a horn section. Now I need drums and cymbals to kick off this bad boy. Big sound. I hate to see the evening sun go down. Hate to see the evening sun go down. 'Cause my baby, she done left this town. Feeling tomorrow like I feel today. If I feel tomorrow like I feel today, pack my suitcase and make my getaway. St. Louis women with your diamond ring, put some men around by the apron string. If it wasn't for lipstick and powder and for store-bought hair, that woman of mine, she wouldn't go nowhere, nowhere. I got the St. Louis blues, just as blue as I can be. That woman got a heart like a rock cast in the sea. Oh, she wouldn't have gone so far away from me. William Christopher Handy passed away in 1958, and he is called the father of the blues. And one more little tidbit. Bessie Smith and Louis Armstrong did a version of St. Louis Blues in 1925. In 1993, they were inducted into the Grammy Archive and given an award for that 1925 version, Bessie Smith and Louis Armstrong. Well, anyway, W.C. Handy was big time. Now, first there was country blues, and then there's the newer urban styles. Most country blues was played by one person, like me. And there were no bands. And country blues, bass rhythm. I'm gonna play, this is what we call a poor man's saxophone. This is an American invention. In 2006, I was in Buffalo, New York on tour, and they took me to a factory where they made them. And they are still in business, and they were celebrating their 100th year anniversary. Newspaper articles from the 30s and 40s were just decorated the place. They still had the original machines that made the kazoo. And then every kind of kazoo you can imagine, some shaped like saxophones, Kazoo City. And then I bought one of their anniversary issues. It's metal and in a box. And so the poor man's saxophone, and I still play mine. Country blues, okay? Bass rhythm, we've all heard this. Here we go. Bass rhythm. I got the blues when my baby left me by the San Francisco Bay. She's taking ocean liner and she's gone so far away. I didn't mean to treat her so bad. She's the best girl I ever had. She said goodbye, I'm gonna make you cry. I'm gonna lay down and die. I haven't got a nickel and I ain't got a lousy dime. If you don't come back, I think I'm gonna lose my mind. Oh, if she ever comes back to stay, there's gonna be another brand new day. Walking with my baby down by the San Francisco Bay. Hey, hey. Walking with my baby down by the San Francisco. Sitting here looking through my back door, wondering which way to go. The woman I'm so crazy about, she don't want me no more. Think I'll take me a freight train because I'm feeling blue. Right all the way to the end of the line, thinking only of you. Meanwhile in another city, just about to go insane. Seems like I can hear my baby the way she used to call my name. Well, if she ever comes back to stay, there's gonna be another brand new day. Walking with my baby down by the San Francisco Bay. Hey, hey. Walking with my baby down by the San Francisco Bay. Ah, one. Walking with my baby down by the San Francisco Bay. Country blues. Country blues. And let's see, I got another example. The Piedmont region. Now we're talking about Virginia, West Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina. It starts in northern Alabama and it goes up like a half moon or a crescent. The Appalachian Mountains in the upper west, the foothills of the Adirondacks, and all the way to the Atlantic coastal lowlands. And they used to play their blues with what we call an alternating bass line. Okay, alternating bass line. Now that's the easy part. Now this is another country blues. Okay, and this comes from the Piedmont region. Interesting part of the country. This was coal mining country, with a lot of cotton picking going on there. And they would play with an alternating bass line like this. Now this can be traced all the way back to West Africa, but that's another story. So this is the easy part. You put your thumb on automatic pilot and keep that on there and forget about it. Now you have to come up with a melody, and this is when the fun starts. And play with these. Am I in? Okay. Tell me what you're gonna do when death come creeping in the room. Tell me what don't do when death come creeping in the room. Tell me what you're gonna do when death come creeping in the room. Oh my Lord, what shall I do? 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 You better hurry. Now, some people say that the alternating bass line played by the thumb represents the unyielding presence of the system or the establishment, and while the melody played by the fingers represent the release of inhibition and an affirmation of a blues man's individuality. God told Nicodemus that he must be born again. God told Nicodemus that he must be born again. God told Nicodemus that he must be born again. Oh my Lord, what shall I do? 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 You better hurry. Oh, hurry. Country blues. Now, I like the Piedmont style. Often they say that the blues emerged late, but I say no. There was so much music there. Old-timey music. The beginnings of country music. They had medicine shows where they would sell things like Dr. Benson's Jackrabbit tablets or some kind of tonic that was food coloring and alcohol. And when everybody came back from intermission feeling pretty good, the theory was if you feel good, you must be getting better. And they used blues musicians to attract a crowd of people. Okay. So let's just keep on this train. Let's get the Great Migration. The music started to change, okay? My grandmother, who was not corrupted by formal education, if you know what I mean, she told me that mechanicals came and took everybody's job. And mechanicals, she was talking about International Harvester and Caterpillar, and they come up with these machines that could pick the cotton. They didn't need sharecroppers anymore. And people started leaving and heading to Chicago, and the music started to change, okay? That country edge left, and then a groove jumped in the music. Well, what's a groove, Mr. Fruitland? I don't know how you define a groove, but I know what it makes you do. A groove makes you do this. So now, a groove jumped into the music. It lost those country edges. People migrated. They walked. They drove on tractors. They came in coffins. They took the bus any way they could get to the north. They made it seem like if you could just get to Chicago, it was dollar bills floating up and down the street. And people came to the big city. Between 1910 and 1920, 60,000 blacks moved to Chicago from other southern states. And then the blues band was born. So now instead of one guy sitting down there playing, there's one man, my foot is my drummer. I can put a harmonica around my neck, but in the big city, I can hire a harmonica player. anyway, we got a bass player. Now we need a rhythm player. People have money. They don't want to sing them old songs about cotton and corn and mules. They want to cut a rug. Now you got a lead guitar player, and how can you tell a lead guitar player when you see one? That's the one that's making all the faces. You ever seen B.B. King, a Buddy Guy? The lead guitar is making all the faces, and the music changed. You got me running, you got me hiding. Now you got me run, hide, running anywhere you want me, let it roll. Yeah, well, alright. You got me doing what you want, baby, why you wanna let go? Now, I just want to play some. I've got 5 CDs. I write my own songs. I've been nominated 5 times and I haven't won anything yet. But that's okay. They know I'm here. That's all I can say. Well, here's something off the beaten path. There's always room for a breakup song. And sometimes when the day arrives, the big day arrives. Just make sure I'm on here. Maybe I should have saved those leftover dreams. Funny, but here's that rainy day. Here's that rainy day they told me about. But I laughed at the thought that it might turn out this way. Might turn out this way. That worn out wish that I threw to the side after it brought my love so near, and it's funny how love becomes a cold and rainy day. Funny, that rainy day. It's here. It's here. It's here. Funny, but here's that rainy day. Here's that rainy day they told me about, but I laughed at the thought that it might turn out this way. It might turn out this way. Where is that worn out wish that I threw to the side after it brought my love so near, and it's funny how love becomes a cold and rainy day. Funny, that rainy day. It's here. It's here. That's what
what they call contemporary acoustic blues. It's a little different. Here's another one. Sometimes you have to, when you have troubles, you have to pray. Heavenly Father up above, have mercy on me. After 7 years of bad love, I finally got free. Now I don't mean to seem ungrateful. You answered all my prayers, and Father, if you're able, don't let me do the same damn thing all over again. You get the fever, you get the itch, and you forget about the mess you were in. You forget about the money, the lawyers, and the pain, and the same damn thing all over again. Almighty Father, great and good, you need to be in my shoes. You let me fall in love just like before. Now I'm stepping in a big pile of the blues. Well, I guess the honeymoon is over. Let's not pretend. Guess I'll never learn my lesson. I did the same damn thing all over again. You get the fever, you get the itch, and you forget about the mess you were in. You forget about the money, the lawyers, and the pain, and it's the same damn thing all over, all over, all over again. Mother Mary, Father Joe, I need to speak with your son. He's had trouble just like mine, and he's the chosen one. So if I never get to heaven, will this be the end? Or fall in love with some sweet little angel and do the same damn thing all over again? You get the fever, you get the itch, and you forget about the mess you were in. You forget about the money, the lawyers, and the pain, and the same damn thing all over, all over, all over again. Thank you. That's the contemporary stuff. Here's one. Name this tune. Name this tune. Kind of a ragtimey feel, but it's within the The circle of fifths. Let's see here. Yeah. This is what I call baby boomer blues. I'm a baby boomer, okay? And I'm a baby boomer. And they keep telling us it's time for us to get off the stage. But when I look behind me and see what's coming, I am in no hurry. They just have to wait till we get out the way. Wait till I just fall over, okay? Anyway, now I need these. These get the sound up, and then the wear and tear on my fingertips, you know, they'll rub off like an eraser chip. Okay. All right, here we go. Big old eyeballs on you. I bet you think I don't know nothing but singing the blues. Hey, sister, have I got news for you? I'm something, and I hope you're thinking you're something too. Struggling, I've been down that lonesome road. And I've seen a lot of sun going down. Trust me, no low life is gonna run you around, babe. So let me tell you something. Hey, sister, remember your name. No twister is gonna steal your stuff away, my sister. We sure ain't got a hole, I said we sure ain't got a hole, you see, we sure ain't got a hole. Not a time, sure ain't got a hole, not a time. Now, as I said, I'm a baby boomer, and we don't have a lot of time. Most of us have lived longer than we're going to live. Unless you think you can double your age. Well, if you're 40, you can see 80. It ain't easy to make, but you can see it. What if you're 50? You think you can double out? Call me when you get there. So if it's something you want to do right now, you want to learn to speak a foreign language, play a musical instrument, jump out of an airplane, get busy now, because we don't have a lot of time. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Let's see. If you're a cancer survivor, like I am, or you have dealt with some serious stuff and you came out on the other side smiling, it's nice to be on top of the ground. And then this one is for you. Just another day that my Lord has kept me. Yes, it is just another day. I've been in my Savior's camp. I want to say He threw His loving arms all around me. Yes, He did. And there I found peace and joy. Right there, right there, right there. Just another day. I've been working in God's vineyard. Just another day. You know He kept me by His side. He said, I know just how hard you've been laboring, and I want you to sit down and rest for a while, and rest for a while. And when I get home to my God's kingdom, I'm gonna sit down all around His throne, and He'll be there with His arms spread wide open. And I'm gonna hear Him say, my servants, welcome home, welcome home, welcome home. And I'm gonna hear Him say, my servant, welcome home, welcome home. It's really a thin line, you know, religious music, well, church songs. And church songs are different, okay? And it had a different feel to it. But that's a whole nother thing. Yeah, religious music, there were hymns. And hymns expressed a worshiper's attitude toward God. Hymns were written for prayer, adoration, and praise. Most of our favorite hymns were written in the 16th and 17th century. The ones that I know that I heard in my grandmother's church, and wondered how they got in my grandmother's church. And then I would later learn about Dr. Isaac Watts, who was the father of British hymnody. Well, what is hymnody? It is the study of writing hymns. And he was born in 1674. But his hymn, I love the Lord, He heard my cries, was in my grandmother's church. And that's when I learned about oral traditions. Now, if there's any questions about blues music or anything like that, if you want to ask a question, please not, I didn't hit on everything because I had to do a lot of playing, but if there's anything you want to ask about, yeah, please.
Where does honky tonk figure in the blues? Is it part of the blues?
Well, honky tonk, kind of, sort of, but it comes from a different tree branch. It comes from the white country. It's part like hillbilly, rockabilly, and honky tonk, and country. It comes off of that southern edge. You know, I always call country music the first cousin of blues because there's similarities. Okay, 3 chords in blues, 3 chords in country, and singing about your life, your love, your work, and all the same thing in country. But the only difference I hear is in the vocalization. I don't have a country voice. You have to have a country voice to sing country unless you just put it on. You know, you hear people singing the blues and they don't really have a blues voice. No matter how much they growl, it's just something missing, and you'll just say, there's something like this. Same when I hear country. But honky tonk, that's interesting. It's if the beginnings of country is the Carter family. They were the first ones to commercially make a dime singing country, and things grew from there. And then, like rock and roll and hillbilly music sort of brushed elbows, and they start calling that rockabilly. Now I know they played the music in a honky tonk. That was the kind of name of the club or the bar they danced in, and the music that they played there became honky tonk music. But I'm not really crystal clear on how to give you just a sharp, simple answer.
It was music they played in the juke joints.
Well, that was another name, okay? Juke joints was in blues, okay? That was a name for the clubs that opened up when all the other licensed places closed. I've been to a couple of juke joints. They still have them. Yeah, but that's just a little different. Yes, please.
How do you make a kazoo work? You hum into it or blow into it?
I can't hear you. Say
How do you make a kazoo work?
a kazoo.
Were you humming?
You blow and you hum.
You blow.
If you just straight blow, you just get air.
Okay.
So there's a piece of plate. When we were kids, we would take wax and weave it through our combs and get this same sound.
Yeah.
I'm going woo, and so it gets that little raspy sound, and that's why they call it the poor man's saxophone. But this is an American invention, and it's over 100 years old. Yes, please.
What about gospel music?
What's
is
gospel?
It? Gospel.
Gospel is a style of playing the music, okay? It's just a style that the first time there was a publication came out in the 1920s called the Gospel Pearls, and that was the first time that word was associated with a certain type of music, okay? And then gospel, I like gospel of the 1950s, okay, where they just had the big organ, you know, or piano, but now they have a whole pit. It's everybody's down there, and it's so modernized. In modern gospel, which we hear, and I like the gospel from the 50s, the Mahalia Jackson stuff. That's my era for gospel music. But religious music has gone through changes. They had what they call the Great Awakening in the 1850s, and they had all of those Billy Sundays, and on the black community they had Father Divine and Daddy Grace, and they had all of these. They used to have camp meetings, and there was a certain style of music that they would sing there. Okay, but gospel is a style that's still going on and is still going through changes. Thomas Dorsey is called the father of gospel music, but if you ask him, he will tell you it was a man named Charles Albert Tindley. He shies away from being called the father of gospel music. He says Charles Albert Tindley. And Charles Albert Tindley was born in the 1800s. He passed away in 1933, and he worked as a janitor and sent himself to school and eventually came back to pastor that church. At the time of his death, there were 12,000 members in 1930s, and he wrote a song called I Shall Overcome. It was tweaked by the civil rights movement and became We Shall Overcome. And he was writing songs back then. And then the mother of gospel music is a lady named Lucy E. Campbell Williams. And not many people know who she is, but she wrote a song called, oh, please, I don't need a moment now. She wrote Something Within. 10 years before Thomas Dorsey wrote the famous Precious Lord. And that's the song that sealed it, for he's the father of gospel music, okay? He was on the road touring, and he used to sing regular songs. He called himself Georgia Tom, and he sang those hot double entendre songs like, it's tight like that. You know, but when his wife died and he was on the road, he changed his life around, became a born again and stopped singing blues songs, which was called the devil's music, and dedicated the rest of his life, like John Newton, to singing, writing and singing Christian songs. But when he came out with Precious Lord, it was such a powerful song, he got the title of the father of gospel music. And it's still going on, and it mixes and it fuses. They mix it with R&B. Sometimes they'll be singing a song, and until you hear the words, you think it's just a regular song you're supposed to dance off of, okay? Well, we were taught when we were little kids, you don't dance off church music. You can do a two-step side to side like the choir, but that's all. Nothing else, you get in trouble. But things have changed. Yes?
Well, I've often heard that the blues started in Chicago, but that's what the Chicagoans say, but it's the buddy guy tradition, right?
No, the blues started long before. The blues began long. There's a
claims the blues, right?
Right. Well, the Great Migration brought the blues to Chicago. Okay, but when they came, it was here, and the styles changed because time changed, and they have what they call fusion in the music, and the music changes. And but it started on the plantations in the South, and it just kept coming. And then they started putting music with it, okay? And then in different places, like Texas, when they play the blues, it sounds jazzy. Their blues sounds like this. Jazzy influence and those extra chords. It's not that standard. It has a different feel. And then they have what they call jump blues, which was really pioneering rap music by Louis Jordan. And it had that boogie woogie beat into it like this. This is all blues. I'm heading for the station with a pack on my back. I'm tired of transportation in the back of a hack. I love to hear the rhythm of the clickety-clack and hear the lungs and whistle, see the smoke from the stack and pound around with Democratic fellows named Mac. Take me right back to the track, Jack. Choo-choo, choo-choo, you boogie, woo, 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 you boogie, choo-choo, choo-choo, you boogie. Take me right back to the track, Jack. Upbeat. Wherever you travel, the blues sounded different everywhere you went, and then fusion takes place, and that's what gives us different styles, okay? This is a blues shuffle. But now if I speed that up, you get rock and roll. Now watch me speed. Early in the morning and out to school, the teacher was teaching the golden rule. American history and practical math. You study hard and you're hoping to pass. I'm working my fingers right down to the bone. The guy behind me won't leave me alone. Ring, ring goes the bell. And it's basically, you just speed it up, and then people had rock and roll for 50 years. It's just cranking up the tempo. And that's how we got our musical styles. If I have some blues here, and I mix it with jazz, you get rhythm and blues, okay? If I have blues and you mix it with religious songs, you get a gospel beat because it's going to bring the beats from the blues, and that's what gospel is. It sort of took those, I wouldn't call them boring hymns, but you know the kind. They would sit and everybody would turn to page 46 and they would do a rendition of Faith of Our Fathers, okay? But if you take that same song and do it gospel style, the choir's going to be clapping like this, the organ's going to be hitting it right here, and it's going to change the sound, but the words will be the same. It's just the way you want to sing it would be in a gospel style. Okay, yes?
Well, how What's bluegrass then?
Bluegrass is just, to me, bluegrass is country music on steroids. Bill Monroe is the father of bluegrass music, but it's not. It's a tree branch that does not come off the blues. Okay, it's a tree. To me, it's a tree branch that comes. It's from Appalachia. It comes off of somewhere in the country. The heart of country, they got together and with these mandolins and they were playing so many notes in there. That's what I call it. I like bluegrass and I like Bill Monroe, and but that's where I would put it.
So Chicago blues, is that a combination of everything, or what do we have that's
Chicago blues is essentially electric blues. Okay, that's when Chicago blues start taking shape when musicians start playing together. Okay, in the old days, it was one guy, and all you did was house parties, and they weren't on amplifiers, so that was big enough. But when they got to Chicago, and the research and the development that went into making vacuum tubes, and so after World War II, they had amplifiers for the first time. With amplifiers, you can play for a stadium. And so now, musicians are starting to play together. Drums, bass, harp, and they have a larger amplified blues sound. And Chess Records in Chicago, okay, they ruled amplified blues. It was one of the largest labels. There were two brothers, Phil and Leonard Chess, and they operated some Southside clubs and came in contact with blues musicians that were just coming up, like Muddy Waters, just coming up from Mississippi to the big city, okay? And he began to record them, and he formed Chess Records, and they became super big, and they provided the platform for Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf, and all of these blues musicians on the South Side. And they created a Chicago sound. It was just a culture of all the musicians, Bo Diddley, all these guys. It created, so that when we say the Chicago tradition, it's as a result of the migration, the Chicago tradition. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been here. It was because people were leaving the South. $2 an hour be $2 a day. Most of the blacks in the South were used to working with animals, so the stockyards was a perfect fit. But they didn't know anything about unions. They didn't know what a scab was until they came up here. A man pulled up in a truck and said, "You want a job?" And once they drove into the gate and the gate closed, then they found out, they started learning lessons about the big city and how things go. Okay, but everybody was coming up here. In fact, if you read a Chicago Defender in the South, you had to go in a back room and it had somebody over the peephole. And just simply reading the newspaper about how life was and the job opportunities was considered a radical act. Because the planners need to have help, and they couldn't have everybody taken off. They would threaten you. If you leave, we're gonna kick your family out of their house, because they gave you a house and feed and seed. In the old days, the way the shared property deal was supposed to go, you get half and they get half. But it was always a company store, script money. You come, anything you need, just sign the book. Most of the people had no education. By the end of the year, you got cheated and you could never leave. Okay, and if you were a good worker, oh man, if you left, then it would make it difficult on the people that stayed. So it was really, really a tough thing, but people left and they got to the big cities and didn't turn around. And the music changed, and Chicago style was born. And then it started spreading across the country. Now they have a West Coast style, there's a Texas style, that jazzy style. Everybody has something different that they bring to the music.
Are you seeing a lot of young people coming to the?
Young people are, we thought so. I've seen, I don't see it happening, okay? There'll be some, but not a lot. It's almost a calling these days. I don't see them coming in as volunteers and things like that. I do blues in the schools. I've seen 1 million kids. I know another musician, he passes out harmonicas and stuff. I don't see them coming in the front door. I think as we begin to retire, is the footprint of blues will get smaller and smaller. There'll never be another Muddy Waters and things like that because social conditions have changed. My son could be the president, okay? So the things that made that good old blues that we used to love, those conditions are different. And then the music is changing because the new people that do come, they're not They can sit anywhere they want on the bus. They're bringing a different story with them. So you're hearing a different sound in the blues. So it makes two camps. People who like the good old stuff and then the new stuff. I think, how we doing, Uncle? How we doing?
Oh, good.
Okay, all right, anybody, okay.
Why did you call it sinful music?
What,
Is it
call what?
because you were talking about the blues being sinful? Is it because it talked about hardships?
No, the first question I mean,
It sounded like you referred to the blues as being sinful.
sinful? Right, well, my grandmother did not like the blues. The blues was called the devil's music because that was started by the pastors in the churches in the South. Because people would go out on the weekend and party big time. And when they got around to the tithe bucket, they didn't have much money. And so they would be scolded by their local preachers and saying, you've been out there listening to that devil's music. Okay? And then some people you couldn't even play it in their house, or if that caused a schism, you know. And I remember when Howlin' Wolf passed away, they offered to send a limousine to Mississippi and pick her up and drive her all the way to Chicago to attend the funeral, and she didn't come because he was playing the devil's music, and she was a deeply religious person. So that's how serious people took it. You know, it caused a problem. You know. And we told. And anybody else? Please. We get a G. G. Now, here's a song that makes a difference. Just a little background. Well, it was written by a man named William Cooper, and well, just let me do it like this. Here's a song that makes a difference. It was sung by both sides of the Civil War. It was used by the Indians as a requiem during the Trail of Tears. It was sung when Nelson Mandela was freed from prison. It was sung when the Berlin Wall came crumbling down. It was sung following the 9/11 disaster to comfort the world. It was sung when the New Orleans Saints entered the Superdome for the first time following Hurricane Katrina. And it has been sung in my grandmother's church for over 100 years. It was written by John Newton and William Cooper. William Cooper was a famous and important historical poet. I used to think it was a Bible verse, but it was William Cooper who said, God works in a mysterious way, his wonders to perform. He plants his footsteps on the sea and rides upon the storm. That was William Cooper. Well, you had a poet like that, and he hooked up with John Newton. John Newton's claim to fame was that he was a slave ship captain, okay, and he kept a journal. And then one day he got caught in a thunderstorm. His ship limped into port. His crew near death from starvation. And he fell to his knees for the first time and prayed. And he became a born-again Christian. He received great resistance from the Church of England because of what he used to do for a living. But they allowed him in, and he became an important preacher. They had to build a new gallery because they had growing crowds who just wanted to hear John Newton speak. And he was eventually forgiven. And he put out a book of hymns called the Omni Hymnals, and it included this treasure, Amazing Grace. I'm going to do a Delta style. Oh, Fruteland, come on now. You're just messing up your rhythm. Good heavens. Now.
sunshine when she's gone. It's not warm when she's away. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. She's always gone too long. Anytime she goes away. Wonder if there's a time when she's gone. Wonder if she's gone to stay. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. She's always gone too long. Anytime she goes away. And I know, hey, I ought to leave a young thing alone. 'Cause ain't no sunshine when she only darkness every day. Ain't no sunshine when she gone. This house just ain't home. Anytime she goes away.
I wish you could play all night long. Unless you have one encore you'd like to do before we wind things up, or you
Okay, let me think. Come up with something. All right.
you don't count. Well, I'm sure Otis Redding is rhythm and blues, because I like Dr. Bay. I love that song.
I can't remember how I used to play it, but I used to. What was that?
Sitting here resting my bones.
I can't remember.
Oh, that's what I wasn't trying to throw a request at you. I was
Okay,
just
no,
trying to ask him.
I just haven't done it in a long time. Let's see.
Do you have a favorite, or did you already do your favorite?
Do what now?
Do you have a favorite?
Oh, that's too many of them. Let's see. Really, let's see.
I put him on the spot.
Okay. I want to do. Let's say when you do an encore, you should do something different from everything you did the whole night long.
Okay.
And so I'm going to do an Irish folk song.
Okay.
It was written by Packy Manus Byrne. He's probably passed away by now, but he was 95 when I heard of him.
Wow.
And I was on tour in the UK, and his fans were so strong, I call them disciples. And at the time, it was back during the cassette days. And I got a hand, they gave me some of his songwriting. I'm going to retune for this one. This will be the I'm tuning my guitar like you would a banjo. One more. And it's called Forever. And it's a song, it's about a spouse, losing a spouse. Okay, I'm on, everybody's on? Okay. see your face in a picture hanging on my bedroom wall. I can watch your features changing when the evening shadows fall, and when darkness dims my eyes and you're no longer with me, your picture will remain with me forever. Your picture will remain with me forever. I can see you as a symphony played on 1,000 strings with a melody and harmony imagination brings. And although it's make-believe and there's no orchestra playing, your music will remain with me forever. Your music will remain with me forever. I can see you as a sunbeam shining through my lonely past, giving life into an empty soul and hope to me last. And whatever fate may bring, be it fair or stormy weather, your image will remain with me forever. See you as a precious gem of red and brilliant hue, as I count the blessings I've received for being so close to you. Put your loving hand in mine, let the past be all forgiven, and say that you'll remain with me forever. I hope that you remain with me forever. I hope that you remain with me forever. I forgot to give you my camera. If anybody got a picture, please send me a JPEG to my website. Just Google my name, Fruteland Jackson, and I got an email box right there. I forgot to get a picture.
What was the name of the last song?
The what?
What was the name of your last song?
Forever. Packing Man is Burned. If anything you can find by him, he's just a